I bet some of you didn't expect me to do a video about some cosmic tier beings. This is kind of different what I usually do. I usually do one separate character and just focus on that one character, but Celestials, I'm just gonna go over their race in general. Like it's a few members of the Celestial race. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce all their different names, you know? You know what I'm saying? Celestials are powerful extraterrestrial cosmic beings. Wait, before I go any further, I absolutely have to give a quick shout out to those that have donated to the channel. I just have to do it. Helps out a lot. This alien race influenced a lot of key events in human history that people thought were accidents, but it was actually meant to be. Like various mysteries that we know about Marvel Comics, like people getting powers from just random radiations, which should just kill them. They're responsible for the key human evolutionary events, such as the genetic races, the Eternals, which are also getting a movie. We're going to feature these characters. They're responsible for them, and the Deviants, aka Thanos. They are also responsible for the emergence of superhumans through the famous X gene of our favorite old mutants, the X-Men. An example of this would be like how Bruce Banner became the Hulk when exposed to gamma rays instead of just dying. Like, you know, like there's a lot of retcons in Marvel, so I don't know if they're responsible for the Hulk being involved with the Green Door or nothing like that. But, you know, in theory, for it to make sense, the Celestials were actually in charge of Bruce Banner becoming the Hulk and all that superhuman stuff that really doesn't make much sense to us. Like, how the heck do you get superpowers just from radiation? You know what I'm saying? Marvel adds a lot of complexities to these things. I'm going to dig into some of their lore as well. Oh, by the way, they also appeared in Ultimate Alliance 3.
The Celestial.
Alright, because these guys are so complex and have so much lore, I'm gonna go ahead and read all of this word for word for y'all. The first celestial host came to Earth approximately 1 million years ago to perform genetic tests and experimentation on Earth's highest life forms, the nascent human being. Testing the versatility of human genes, the first host created two subspecies of humanity, like I said earlier about how they were involved in the key events like the Eternals and superhumans. Eternals and Deviants, their sole legacy to the mainstream human race was the implantation of a dormant DNA complex which would one day permit benevolent mutations. I'm gonna read this word for word for you as well. Once there was a perfect universe. This is the one we've just heard of. And this universe was infected by some of its inhabitants who had evolved by manipulating themselves into a race of beings beyond physical want or need. In the end, they found they had affected themselves such a degree that they were no longer capable of physical reproduction. They were no longer capable of anything save the movement of their own energy form. A housing for their being was necessary to guarantee against any additional loss of definition. They built armor for themselves to contain their bodies, an organic encasing, which on Earth was called vibranium. That's right. They're kind of responsible for vibranium, but metaphysical procreation was discovered to be possible by implanting a part of their energies into a whole world. And they used their abilities to manipulate the races of other worlds into becoming protectors of the embryo that was planted within each world. They're very complex. So if you hurt their armor, you're not really hurting them. You know what I'm saying? They're using armor to protect their actual energy. They're made up of energy. You know what I mean? Don't want to do too much reading word for word, but I'm going to continue for you. This is the origin of the Celestials. They would then implant vibranium into the planets, allowing them to form the housing necessary to provide definition for the birth. They were in charge of vibranium. Their infection of the worlds within this universe led to its collapse, which in turn led to the creation of Galactus as their sole survivor. He would make certain they never do to the new universe what they had to the old one. Creation of the new universe cut off all those inhabitants of our realm from some mystery that those who had lived in that original universe had always known. So mankind created religions and philosophies to piece together what they knew had been broken. We'd been cut off from perfect knowledge without even knowing it. We got more lore for you. They chose to change the destiny of life form. New to the evolutionary chain, the ape, a specimen, was trapped and taken alive. To that ape was given the cosmic chemistry that would father the races to come. Yep, evolution, the deviant, the human, and on the right, the eternal. Structurally unstable, the deviant. Each new generation of deviant appeared in new and monstrous ways. Constant war, the human, with true balance of structure and disposition. The human was capable of building for peace. His kind was destined to inherit the earth. He belonged to it. the Eternal. He was more child of the gods than of Earth. He reached for the universe. The Eternals bred few in numbers and were immune to time and death. Like the gods, they lived apart from all other living beings. The simian race, so full of cosmic potential were they. Godly celestials came to experiment on them and left behind their creation. Are we just going to ignore vibranium is a natural part of their physiology? They're the ones that put these type of chemicals in this gorilla so the humans and beings after this could evolve. Because of that experiment, the deviants, the humans, and the Eternals were created. This is including characters like Thanos. This also means they made the Skrulls. Remember that part where they said they put too much vibranium on the other Earth planets? It was a mistake last time. You know how Galactus' origin is him? He's like the remnants of a last failed universe. Not using this vibranium the right way could cause the universe to be unstable or the planets to collapse or something like that, right? Thanks to the Celestials' experimentations, they pretty much kind of created like all the different races in the way you can think of it that way. The Celestials are so strong, it was stated that being like Dormammu, if he were to gain control over all of space and time across the universe, that he'd be able to challenge the Celestials. I mean, keep in mind that Dormammu is already equal to Odin outside of his realm, right? As stated here, stating he's equal to characters like Zeus and Odin, Dormammu himself, right? But then there's some crazy times where Dormammu has fought eternity. This same guy would have to get like power-ups to be able to challenge the Celestials. I'll let you just think about that for a second. Dormammu is learning the secrets of this universe space-time. Before too long, he'll be able to challenge the Celestials themselves. All right, let's talk about some more lore for the Celestials. All right? The universe didn't just come to be as like all these multiverses. Like it wasn't just like one day, boom, all the multiverses came out of nowhere. They were the first beings that existed within the first universe before all the different multiverses came about. Like, yeah, it gets a little crazy with all this stuff. They were made by the first multiverse itself. It's stated here, the Celestials were there at the birth of the universe, so full of pride, they shaped creation. They made life from darkness. But they were stupid, playing God's life was a game. Life was a poem to be arranged. With life, they thought there must be death. The symmetry was pleasing to them, birth and destruction. So they created monsters to be that destruction and to erase their mistakes. Instead, their creations turned on them, created their own demise. The Celestials couldn't destroy them. The best they could do was imprison them. They split the universe into the multiverse with nothing but their will, trapped the monsters inside of one of those universes and sealed it. But instead of learning from their mistakes, the Celestials did something stupid again. They created the Death Seed, a force with the same purpose as the monsters, but far more manageable. But the Celestials couldn't hide their first mistake forever. Those evil Xaviers weakened the walls between universes, destabilizing the barrier to the prison, and now the monsters are escaping into the barrier. From there, they can potentially travel the multiverse and consume everything. They were just meant to. Okay, to summarize that all up, what I just said. This scan in particular, the Celestials created death but lost control of it, and death began to attack them, killing them. After death killed many of them, the remaining Celestials beat down the walls of reality until it fractured and created the multiverse. But this is kind of retconned anyway. So yeah, take that with a grain of salt. I just wanted to give this to y'all to read for yourselves and just give you some cool lore. Okay, so I feel like this is probably the more accurate origin for them. The first firmament created an unnamed race of beings. These beings served the first firmament loyally until a group rebelled and went to war with the ones that were loyal to the first firmament. The loyal ones were called aspirants, the rebels were called the Celestials. The battle between them fractured hundreds upon hundreds of universes from the being, thus creating the first multiverse. And then it became infinite due to there being a universe for every possibility, meaning infinite universes spawned from infinite possibilities. Further conflicts led to the next multiverse and several after that to collapse, only to lead to the birth of another multiverse. I'll just read this stuff word for word for you right quick. Celestial beings, my servants, my toys. Soon they had made servants of their own. They were clever little pets. There were others, multicolored rebels. They wanted their creations to evolve to gain the power of universes. And for the universe to evolve with them, to know growth and change and morality, it was madness and sacrilege. It was war. One group was called the Celestials and others called the aspirants. Stated here, a war that shattered me into pieces. The final flagration as the rebels detonated their unimaginable weapons. Hundreds of new universes split off from my pure substance. In terror to preserve my uniqueness, my very self, I fled to the farthest edges of being, my remaining aspirants inside me and behind me. This second infinity was colonized by rebels. They evolved their own servitors, called them Omegas, in opposition to the Alpha that was I. Death of one multiverse was only the birth of another. I writhed in frustration and exile as the multiverse was reborn over and over, evolved further for each iteration. Celestials have a lot of history with the multiverse and why it's here. You get the idea. Odin actually fought like a couple Celestials. He's amped up, got the destroyer armor, got the Odin sword, and all this crazy stuff. Chopping off a limb of a Celestial does nothing. He seems to be outmatched. It states here, the loss of a limb means nothing to Nezar, a Celestial. It can regenerate. The power of ultimate disintegration is again unleashed in a single withering beam, only to be passively deflected by a casually unpraised Celestial hand. Yeah, it's casual. It's like no effort. Fighting a Skyfather that's amped with destroyer armor with the Odin sword. The Odin sword. The same Odin sword that can like literally destroy the universe if unsheathed, but that's none of my business. I don't even know why the writers did this to Odin, having him fight this many Celestials at once. Honestly, just seems unfair to me. If I'm being honest, yeah. Ouch. They literally one-shotted him. Like made a Skyfather like during his heyday. Not that Marvel's treating him that well now, but this is back when Marvel actually was treating Odin well, and he still wasn't ready. Oh, by the way, you can't really harm a Celestial, really. Not really, because you can stab it through the armor and it not really cause any pain. Stabbing itself with the sword and then melts it in the process, just casual stuff. That's what happens when you're an abstract tier. I don't even have to show this. Like it stated here, unsheathed, the universe ends. Did he just melt the Odin sword? Okay, I'm so done. Celestials are definitely top tier. One of the Celestials actually took a combined attack from Skyfathers, Odin, Zeus, Vishnu, powerful gods of the Council of Godheads. Then he blasted them back with an extraordinary amount of force. One of the Celestials is just strong enough to like pretty much toy with Loki. I got a video analyzing how strong Loki is. And oh yeah, Loki's just a joke. They consider him like an ant in comparison. You got more lore on the writer intent where the Celestials range in the Marvel hierarchy. You got the Celestials. Power is self-derived, independent of anyone's beliefs. In the past, the upper end of Marvel's power hierarchy was comprised of beings like the Watcher, the Stranger, Galactus, and the Grandmaster. It seems that this was the uppermost limit of the physical power spectrum until Celestials were introduced. We believe that the Celestials constitute to the next level of power. So yeah, it would be like this. The Watcher, the Stranger, Galactus, and most Celestials were above this. Not all of them, maybe like some of them being slightly weaker, but like the high-end Celestials are like probably above Galactus. You know what I mean? I got a video about Galactus too. Galactus has fought Celestials before though. You know what I mean? Keep that in mind. So they are a step above like one considered abstract tier. That's already freaking too high up there. This is being known as Cubic, stated was more powerful than beings like Odin and Zeus and the Watcher, which is crazy, but they still say Cubic is less powerful than the Celestials. It states here, Cubic may be less powerful than most known Celestials. It would be disrespectful to call any Celestial Skyfather tier. Let me not get started on Franklin Richards. Oh, they just casually say, I'm just going to destroy a universe that Franklin Richards created because the Celestials can. No surprise there. And there's a Celestial called Ashima, a Celestial that took human form and lowered its power, was able to tank and raise attack from Kid Franklin. Yes, that's right. Celestials can look like whatever the heck they want because they can. For a Celestial to take an attack from Franklin Richards, just one Celestial, why it should be like illegal to fight an army of these guys. One of them is just overpowered. I mean, one of them can take attacks from Franklin Richards. That Celestial I just showed you, Ashima, absorbed the universe that Franklin Richards created so they can explore life and creation in new ways, whatever, blah, 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 blah. All for the sake of studying. We can just absorb universes because Celestials are cool. Celestial Ashima. You're probably thinking, Celestials don't need speed when you're this powerful, right? They could just make a universe-wide omnidirectional blast. Why the heck do they even need combat speed? Oh, by the way, they've actually fought the freaking Beyonder in a group. Yeah, the overpowered Beyonder. One of the few people that can fight multiple Celestials at once. It states here, the trouble is, lesser beings can't really perceive the bulk of the action. The billions of feints, thrusts, and parries per second. Billions of feints and thrusts and parries per second. They're attacking freaking fast to each other. Don't get this confused. I am actually talking about this same Beyonder. Yeah, the same Beyonder that makes everything in the multiverse look like it's microscopic in comparison to its power. That same Beyonder. Yeah, they're fighting him. That's a feat. I'm not trying to say they're more powerful than the Beyonder, but yeah, they're fighting fast against the Beyonder. Cool, right? They can do cool stuff like creating random black holes to absorb the blast, like in this time Thor tried to hurt him with the blast. It's like there's one above all Celestial. These Celestials do bend time, space to their whims, it seems. It's implied that they exist above time and space for the simple fact that they can reach in like random points of time, grab somebody, then plug them into another part of time. Like there was this one time There was this dinosaur that was giving issues. This Celestial was able to amp the dinosaur strong enough to be able to fight somebody like the Hulk. Like, what? How does that even work? He was like, oh yeah, just go fight these dinosaurs for me. Was literally able to amp up the dinosaur enough to fight the Hulk on even footing. Like, what? They do have power bestowal, and it doesn't take long for them to power you up. They have like every power known to man, super strength, super speed, power bestowal, like, you know what I'm saying? This race shouldn't even exist, man. Battling each other, different Celestials fighting each other. In the famous Infinity Gauntlet storyline, they came across Thanos. They summoned 2 planets across the cosmos to attack Thanos with. Unfortunately, Thanos just blasted the planets, destroying them in the process. Here, let me just grab these planets as a weapon. Of course, these planet explosions do nothing to the Celestials, of course. Remember that feat I brought up earlier of Odin being amped with the Destroyer armor? It was also amped by other Skyfathers. Celestials were still overwhelmingly stronger. Its completion, Odin takes the armor to his fellow Skylords, each of whom bestow on it a fraction of their godly might, makes it virtually all-powerful. That makes the feat even better, by the way. There was even a time Celestials even attacked the Council of Reed Richards, like the Council of literally made of Reed Richards. Some of these Reed Richards had different abilities, my dude. And we're not just talking about stretchy abilities. The main 616 Reed Richards barely escaped from the onslaught of Celestials. This is impressive because there was some Infinity Gauntlet user Reed Richards in this group of Reed Richardses. Another Reed Richards that had Johnny Storm's power, Silver Surfer Reed Richards, you know what I'm saying? It's just all kinds of stuff. Can't lie. Can't wait for him to join the MCU. God, dog. But they had this super crazy weapon and they had to retreat eventually because Reed is stupid smart. They actually got weapons that can put the Celestials in danger. Like, goodness gracious. For lowballers out there, no, this was not no normal laser gun. This was like an ultimate nullifier type of weapon that disperses their energy out of their body. Like crazy overpowered gear. You should know this from my Reed Richards How Strong video. Reed is ridiculous with prep time and he has ridiculous gear that can make him be able to beat top tiers. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and by the way, there was a Star Brand Reed Richards. You know, they came back to kill him. Yeah, they really can't stand the council of Reed Richards. Reed is too smart. They don't like them. Imagine a Reed Richards that has the abilities of Star Brand. Like, imagine Star Brand and somebody smart like Reed Richards doing the fusion technique. You know how deadly of a combination this is, having these levels of power with this guy's intellect. Imagine this guy with prep with these type of abilities, right? Well, evidently that doesn't matter to these Celestials. This Star Brand Reed got obliterated one blast, so rest of you gotta run. A mad Celestial got blasted by the Ultimate Nullifier by one of the alternate reality Reeds, and it still failed in killing the mad Celestial. The Ultimate Nullifier has been shown to be able to affect stuff as large as the universe or just wipe the universe from existence and stuff like that. No big deal. It couldn't do nothing to a mad Celestial though. You know what I'm saying? And it stated here, and should the universe crumble, can Galactus survive it? It can even erase across time. The Ultimate Nullifier can even erase the time stream, like 4-dimensional stuff. It has to be past 4-dimensional for it to erase something like a time stream. How do you erase a time stream with raw blast power? You know what I'm saying? If it's not sealed off, it can cause such devastating effects to the time stream. Like, what in the living heck? And without a sound, the universe behind them softly and suddenly vanishes away. Okay, this is just getting ridiculous at this point. Depending on the wielder using the Ultimate Nullifier, it can destroy the multiversal eternity. Okay, you know what? It's crazy that one of the Reed Richards did this to the Mad Celestial, but it didn't work. But it has this type of potential. This is a Reed, isn't it? A Reed Richards is blasting a Celestial with the Ultimate Nullifier. This doesn't even really work. I'm just saying. The Ultimate Nullifier can even like kill beings like Abraxas. Oh no, no big deal. Abraxas is just the same guy that just beating up Galactus with an S. You know, no big deal. You know what I'm saying? That Celestial eats an attack from Ultimate Nullifier. Highly controversial battle right here when Galactus fought like a whole bunch of Celestials. The battle made it imply that Galactus could have actually beaten him if they didn't fuse together. But luckily, the writer actually spoke out about this to kind of prove that Galactus would have lost if they didn't fuse at the W-1. Plus, Galactus had to prep to fight him like this. They fuse into this super being Celestial. And that's where Galactus gets to work. People actually went to the writer for this. Galactus wouldn't have won even if they didn't fuse. But yeah, Galactus did get a W-1 though, but that don't mean he would have just beat the rest. Special weapons made by even Reed that are made to take on Celestials kind of fail over and over again. I mean, it was designed to kill him, but it did split him apart, but it didn't kill him. The whole point was to kill him though. Johnny Storm was amped with the Cosmic Control Rod this one time. He was able to produce ridiculous heat that can blast through space and time. The Celestial just one-shots the amped up Human Torch. Shouldn't have to say much more. The Celestials are like cosmic beings already, but just to add more fuel to fire, Cubic, K-U-B-I-K, and Cosmos are basically living cosmic cubes. He explains that there are levels to infinity, which explains why all cosmic beings have infinite power, yet there's a hierarchy based on power. It gets a little confusing. That's why I don't really like to really try to explain this, because how do you get higher than infinity? You know, how can everybody be infinity and one be stronger than the other? Because infinity is infinity. You know what I'm saying? It gets a little bit confusing. They state here, our power is as nothing compared to that of the celestials. But cubic, do we not possess infinite power? They're answering great questions of how infinity works in fiction. Can we not warp the laws of time and space at our whim? Yes, our might is infinite, but there are levels of infinity. Wow. Yeah, this is where the stuff gets goofy. Infinity is by very nature unsurpassable. This is a question that people ask each other. Consider then the set called whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So is it not infinite? Obviously. Then consider the set called even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. How long is it? Why? Infinite, of course. Half of infinity is still infinity, and the same would be true for the set of odd numbers, of course. Both sets are infinite, and yet the whole set of whole numbers contains both subsets and is therefore twice as large as either subset alone. This makes your brain fart. Thus are demonstrated two levels of infinity. There are, of course, an infinite number more. And towering above us is a being possessed by a transfinite level of power, many orders of magnitude beyond our own. What in the living heck is happening here, guys? We couldn't possibly contend with such a being and hope to survive. What? This is also some more origin stuff for the Celestials here. You can pause the video here if you want to read this stuff out. Yeah, like bruh. I hope you guys enjoyed this feat run and it wasn't too confusing. The power levels just get ridiculous when you get this high, but that's none of my business. What do you guys think? Post your comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Did you guys enjoy this feat run? Did you learn anything new? Are you new to the channel? Hopefully you'll stick around and check out my other videos and stuff like this. I'm not gonna lie, when you get this top tier, it's kind of hard to nerf a being with this much lore to being under planet level in live action when you got this much comic book lore to back it up. I mean, yo, they have to be like universal even in live action. Unless you just want to get their whole origin wrong, like all this universal power or multiversal power should automatically put them at a certain level in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that's none of my business, right? Like them literally being able to blast away universe is literally a part of their lore. You cannot nerf them without busting up their story.